For Comedy Hype News, I'm Ramil Thompson. In the world of Black Hollywood, there are plenty of performers who capture audiences for generations. Appearing in numerous films and keeping a low profile has been something many Black actors have decided to do to avoid some of the stress that comes along with being super famous. These actors, despite little mainstream recognition, continue to work very frequently because of their undeniable talent. One person who fits this bill would be legendary actor Glynn Turman. Glynn Turman is an actor, writer, director, and producer with an entertainment career spanning over 45 years. Specifically known for being one of the best supporting actors of all time and his distinctive deep voice, Glynn Turman has carved out an exceptional career for himself, which is why he will remain unforgotten. Glynn Russell Turman was born on January 31st, 1947 in New York City. Turman is of Nigerian descent, coming from the Edo culture. Turman's mother clipped Glynn out of a troubled lifestyle by enrolling him in youth camps. Turman knew he wanted to be a performer from the young age of 12 and didn't waste time pursuing his career. He appeared in his first prominent acting role at the age of 12 in the Lorraine Hansberry play, A Raisin in the Sun, portraying the character of Travis Younger. This play also featured many notable names we would see blossom into successful actors in the future. Names like Louis Gossett Jr., Ruby Dee, and Sidney Poitier, as there were plenty of notable Black performers Glynn would grow up with. Glynn worked in regional theaters such as Tyrone Guthrie's Repertory Theater, where he performed in the late 60s plays, Good Boys, Harper's Ferry, and The Visit. He would move to the theaters in Los Angeles where he made his LA debut with the play Slow Dance on the Killing Ground. In 1968, he made his first prominent on-screen debut in the show Peyton's Place in the role of Lou Miles, in addition to TV appearances on the programs of Daktari, Julia, and Room 222. His official film acting career began in 1971 when he had a small role being a sailor in the successful blaxploitation film Honky. Shortly after, Turman would be awarded his first NAACP award for his performance in Eyes of the American, something which surely solidified Turman's position in Black Hollywood. Glynn's performances in certain roles helped him become a pivotal part of adding some new Black empowerment narratives. The film Five on the Black Hand Side is an example. The film was made as a counter to the stereotypes in many blaxploitation films with the tagline of "You've been cozy-tied, blackularized, and superflied, but now you're going to be glorified, unified, and filled with pride when you see Five on the Black Hand Side." This was a refreshing step away from the stereotypical characters played at the time, demonstrating how the film was important to changing the culture. In 1975, Turman would land one of his signature roles when he was cast in the community classic film Cooley High. He played the lead role of Leroy Priest Jackson. Screenwriter Eric Monte has said that he wrote the film to dispel myths about growing up in the projects. He's quoted as, "I grew up in the Cabrini Green housing project and I had one of the best times of my life. The most fun you can have while inhaling and exhaling." Cooley High is considered by many to be an all-time classic film, and it took Glynn to another level. Turman's second NAACP award would come as a director for his play Deadwood Dick. At this time, being a Black director, let alone being both an actor and director, was a pristine position because of how rare Black directors were. His other directing credits include Hanger and Mr. Cooper, The Parenthood, and The Wayans Bros. When speaking on what helped propel him past these obstacles, a quote from Glynn states, "I am a child of the 40s, and my generation had three key figures that were used to overcome obstacles that were meant to be barriers. Those figures were Joe Louis, Jackie Robinson, and Jesse Owens." Glynn's personal life had been eventful since he was young, as he was married to his first wife in 1965, Eula M. Walker. The union produced 3 kids. The two were divorced in 1971. Glynn's next marriage would definitely be his most high profile, as he married the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Glynn and Aretha met backstage at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion during a Ben Vereen show. According to the popular narrative, the couple were introduced when one of Aretha's sons ran up to Glynn and said, "Glynn Turman, my mother loves you." The two began dating and would marry on April 11, 1978. The marriage suffered because of the long-distance relationship, which kept them apart more than they wanted. The two divorced 4 years later in 1982 and remained good friends. Glynn shared fond memories about his relationship with the Queen of Soul with Fox News, stating, "People think of her often as an iconic singer, an iconic performer, but they don't necessarily remember that she was a mother and a wife and someone's lover. There was the part that I'm glad I got to know about. Women's rights movement should have her name written all over it. She just didn't take the tea for the fever, as the old folks would say. She was stubborn and hard to persuade. When she got her mind made up on something, you might as well pretty much forget trying to change it." Glynn was in the company of Aretha in some of her final days as he reported on how she was before she passed. "I felt her pulse holding her frail arm. I was able to feel her pulse, which was strong. She was fighting to the very end." Glynn also enjoyed making music, as he and Aretha both wrote the song "I'm Your Speed," which made it onto Aretha's Almighty Fire album. After a few years in some TV/movie projects, such as The Red Fox Show and the film Out of Bounds, Turman landed the biggest role of his career when he was cast as the memorable Colonel Bradford Taylor on the classic show A Different World, a spinoff of The Cosby Show, and centered on the lives of young Black college students attending the fictional HBCU of Hillman College. In an interview with the cast of the show with Vanity Fair, Glynn spoke about when he got hired. "I was on the road with the play called I'm Not Rappaport. We were crisscrossing the country, and during a break, I met with Susan Fales and Debbie Allen. I went back on the road and got the news that they wanted me for the role." Turman played the character of Colonel Bradford Taylor, a Vietnam vet who was a math and ROTC instructor at the university. His hilarious military tendencies make up for much of the character's charm and comedy, as the students frequently refer to him as Dr. War. Colonel affects one of the main characters in a profound way, as Dwayne eventually becomes a professor, following in Colonel's footsteps. The character was among one of the most popular in the show, even with many audience members being confused at the Colonel dating one of his students in season 5. Turman impacted people so much with his performance, people actually responded to him like an actual former sergeant. In the same Vanity Fair interview, he stated, "Here's how influential Colonel Taylor was. I was driving down the street one day, in the hood so to speak, and I saw 2 young men, teenagers in a brawl. Something told me to stop and go over. So I did. I stood there and said, 'Look at me, you stop this, both of you. Stop this.' They looked and they said, 'My God, it's Colonel Taylor,' and they stopped." The show was a massive critical and commercial success, with many naming it as one of the best black sitcoms of all time. Turman will also be in the director's chair in seasons 3 through 5, helping the actors in front of and behind the camera. A Different World is credited with inspiring many blacks to go to college, and Turman confirms this by saying, "Enrollment in colleges, especially black colleges across the country, increased tremendously during the 5-year run of A Different World, and I don't think you can have a better legacy than that." Glynn's current marriage to Joanne Allen began in 1992. In an interview with the Oprah Winfrey Network, Glynn stated that he didn't plan to marry again after 2 divorces. The couple had been together for the last 10 years and had a child, a daughter named Glynn Turman. Glynn has said he just impulsively asked Joanne to marry him during a normal day in the household. After asking him to ask him multiple times again just to confirm his seriousness, Joanne would say yes, and the two have been married ever since. With all of his success, a tragedy would occur. In 1986, Glynn's son, Glynn Jr., was violently murdered after being stabbed to death in an altercation that took place in the parking lot of a lobster restaurant. Witnesses told detectives and investigators that Turman catcalled one of the women the stabber Henry was walking with, and she rejected him. Things got heated between Henry and Glynn Jr., which resulted in Glynn Jr. challenging him to a fist fight. However, Henry would never fight Glynn Jr. and stabbed him. Glynn Jr. died the next morning at the hospital from his injuries. Glynn never spoke of this publicly, but we can imagine the unimaginable pain felt. Glynn pushed forward in life after his son's death and built an excellent small screen and film career throughout the 90s and into the new millennium, with hit projects like, of course, his role in A Different World and How Stella Got Her Groove back in 1998. The next project that would have blockbuster success for Turman would be the iconic show The Wire in 2004, portraying politician Clarence Royce. The Wire is considered one of the most popular shows in modern history, adding another great project on his illustrious resume. Turman has continued to work with many appearances in films and numerous successful television appearances, such as House of Lies and How to Get Away with Murder. Additionally, Turman is a skilled horseman, having been a cowboy from his younger days. A career like Turman spanning this long with this much work is rare. Someone who knew since his youth that he wanted to be a performer and never left that path. He was able to create signature characters such as Preach from Cooley High and Colonel from A Different World that resonated with audiences. A talent whose gift for acting sustained him for a lifetime and provided the black community with many memorable moments, which is why he will remain unforgotten. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Ramil Thompson.